So I have 15 minutes of reading time before Donna must go to bed to go to her first on-school campus day tomorrow. Oh my gosh. I'm a little bit excited, a little bit nervous, but I did have some online classes today. I took a quiz. I believe it was advanced formatting, and I got a C, but I'm trying not to beat myself up over it. C's great. It's not terrible. So I'm going to be accepting. I'm also going to stop by the tutoring lab and have a chit chat. One of my books is not in, and there's a quiz in that class on Friday. Not cool. And on top of it, I'm just chatting a bit before I read, before I go to bed. I have to stop by the tutoring lab so I can set an appointment up on Friday. I want to go through every subject. I want to feel confident. I want to feel secure. I want to feel not like I'm on eggshells. And I think the best way to do that is to get ahead of the game. So definitely stopping by, going to talk with them. And I looked up how many pages we have left, minus what page we're on. We have 120 pages left of this story. So without further ado, Sara Richardson's the author, Last Dance with a Cowboy. Let's get started. August found himself staring at Leela for the first time in what seemed like forever. Hope breathed new life into his heart. I'm sure Mara has been thrilled to have all of her kids home together, Nana said when they paused at the stoplight. How many grandkids does your mom have now? 3, and Olivia and Ryan. Charlie had become the light of his mother's life. If he was being honest, he'd admit they'd become lights in his life too. No, he didn't get to see them much, but when he did, Ryan acted like they were best friends, and sometimes the boy texted him pictures he drew for him, telling him he couldn't wait to see him again, about 50 exclamation points punctuating the words, and don't get him started on Charlie. One look at her melted his heart into a puddle. There's also another baby on the way. How exciting! Nana held on to her husband's arm as they walked through the crosswalk to the other side of the busy street. Leela glanced up at August, her eyes wide. I didn't know Jane was expecting again. Actually, it's Thea and Wes. The jealousy still stalked his happiness for his brother, but he wouldn't let it take over. He told me today before I came to pick you up. He was going to make the big announcement tonight. That's great news. His pretend fiancée slipped her hand into his. Congrats on being an uncle again. Thanks. He held on to her, and not caring if this was part of the act. He wasn't sure what was real and what was pretend anymore, but he wouldn't let her go. That also makes you an auntie too, you know, Nana reminded her happily. August didn't have to look too closely to see Leela's smile tighten. She kept her eyes focused in front of them and moved more quickly down the block. Oh, would you look at that? We're already here. He released her hand, but the warmth of her skin still lingered in his palm. Maybe that was the hope working its all the way up through him. Thankfully, the restaurant wasn't like the one of the Michelin star places Forrest had always taken him to in Napa. He never understood fancy food in tiny portions. Instead of a sleek entrance, this place had a mismatched brick facade and small windows. Buenas noches is owned by our friend Raphael, Papa explained, hurrying to get their door for them. It's a real Italian food. His minestrone is almost as good as mine. No way. August hadn't had Papa's minestrone in years, but he could still taste it. That had been their Sunday appetizer at the restaurant before the man had agreed to promote Simon so he could spend more time with his family. I always get minestrone when I go out for Italian food, and I always end up disappointed. The man slung arm around August as they stepped inside. I knew I liked you. There was nothing special about the restaurant interior either, but something about the simplicity of the scuffed wood floors and old plaster walls felt welcoming. People packed the small dining room, all of them enjoying family-style portions of Italian classics. A perfect hint of garlic wafted in the air. Mr. and Mrs. Valentino, a young hostess waved at them from a small desk. My dad said to bring you right back when you got here. Thank you, Mari. Nana hugged the girl. It's been so long since I've seen you. What a beautiful young lady you've turned into. She waved Leela and August over. This is my granddaughter, Leela, and her fiancé, August. Her fiancé. It might be only a little title, a part to play, he had to play, but he didn't mind being introduced as Leela's fiancé. That title had started to take on a different meaning for him when he introduced himself to Blake that way in the park. He'd been making a point, but now it felt like he was stepping into the role. After the necessary handshakes and polite greetings, and they all paraded all the way back of the restaurant and through the double doors into the kitchen. The space reminded August a lot of Valentino Bella's kitchen, with the chaos erupting in front of the stoves and the line cooks and the food runners maneuvering around each other to get the meals to the tables while they were hot. Angelo, an older man in a white chef's coat, left his post in front of a stove and hurried to greet Papa. And Franny, he peppered Nana's cheeks with kisses. How wonderful to have you here. It has been much too long. His accent came across much thicker than Leela's grandparents. Leela, that be you? The man didn't wait for an answer before capturing her in a bear hug. When did you grow up? I remember your Nana holding your hand so you wouldn't get near the stoves. I remember that too. She straightened and reached for August's hand, tugging him over. Raphael, I'd like you to meet August Harding, my fiancé, she added after only a slight hesitation. The man's gasp conveyed true delight. You're getting married? He sternly signaled a server who happened to be walking by. We need a bottle of our finest champagne, Pompo Adesso. The young man nodded and rushed away. We can't tell you how thrilled we are to be here, Nana inhaled deeply. It smells like heaven in the kitchen. I can't wait to try everything. And you will. The man ushered them past the cooks and the stainless steel counters to a corner where a large farmhouse table sat. You have the seats of honor tonight. He pulled out their chairs for them. Sit. We will bring you that champagne and some of our best appetizers. The burrata with marinated tomatoes? Papa asked hopefully. Of course, the man clapped him on the back. You enjoy yourselves and celebrate. Let us take care of everything else. We do have a lot to celebrate, Nana and said after Raphael had walked away. Her gaze settled on August and Leela. We do, August agreed. It had been a long time since he'd enjoyed an evening this much. It had been a long time since he'd been this unburdened. It's not only our engagement we should celebrate either. You two have been together for over 50 years, 5 decades, and they still had this intense fire burning between them. So please share, what's the secret to a long, happy relationship? What did he have to do if he wanted to have this kind of marriage they had someday? They stared into each other's eyes, seeming to speak without words. You have to guard each other's dreams, Nana finally said with a defensive nod. And if you treat those dreams like your own, Papa added. We haven't always agreed on everything, but we always wanted the best for each other above everything else. August found himself gazing at Leela again. A smile softened her lips as she stared back. Something about the way her mouth curved seemed genuine, not part of their fabrication. I'll remember this advice. He did want the best for Lee, and he could still guard her dreams, even if they weren't together. Chapter 16. The standing ovation practically shook the theater, while the cast on stage continually bowed. Leela clapped and whistled, still caught up in the emotion and drama of the performance. August clapped next to her, looking dangerously sexy in his suit. He had been the perfect date all evening, attentive, funny, and a fantastic conversationalist with her and her grandparents. She couldn't help but wonder if her life could have looked like this if she hadn't lost him? Would they have gone on this extravagant dates together? Maybe they would be too busy with a family by now. The house lights came on and dimmed the applause into appreciative chatter. Nana gathered her purse and started to shuffle out their row and into the aisle. Wasn't that incredible? Papa followed with a supportive hand on her at her back. I'm not much of a theater man, but I have to admit I was impressed. I told you, his wife teased, holding on to his elbow. I loved the theater. That had to be one of the best Phantom performances I ever seen. August helped Leela put on her wrap. Yet another thoughtful gesture that seemed completely natural for him. Have you seen many performances? She scooted into the aisle behind her grandparents as they slowly made their way to the exit with the masses. It was strange to think that she'd known August so well once upon a time, and in some ways still did. But she didn't know much about his life. I've seen a few performances in California. Leela became hyper aware of him being behind her, close and warm, his deep voice bringing goosebumps to her neck. Even with her toes being pinched in the heels that had seemed like a good idea when she packed them this morning, she focused on walking tall and straight, making sure her knees didn't wobble and trip her up again. They streamed out of the theater with everyone else and then huddled on the sidewalk. The city lights had come on, dressing up the streets and giving the downtown scene a vibrance it hadn't had when they had walked to the theater from the restaurant. Maybe we should take a cab back to the hotel, Nana said through a yawn. We haven't been out this late in years. Exactly what I was thinking. Papa moved closer to the curb and signaled a passing taxi. Leela hung back. Her feet were killing her, but the quicker they got back to the hotel, the sooner she and August would have to navigate sharing one of the most romantic hotel rooms in Denver. Nerves set her stomach abuzz. Would something happen between them? Did she want something to happen? She had no idea, which meant it was a beautiful night to procrastinate. I think we'll walk back if that's okay. I like that idea. August positioned himself beside her, his arm brushing hers. If her heart thumped any louder, he would certainly hear it. All right, then. It is a beautiful night for a romantic walk. Nana hugged them both, seeming thrilled that they were going to spend some time alone. We'll meet you in the lobby for breakfast. Sounds good. August escorted Leela's grandma to the waiting taxi and shook her granddaughter's hand. Thank you both for the dinner, the show, the hotel. This has been the best night I've had in a long time. His genuine tone warmed Leela's heart, and the man had been amazing with her grandparents all night, truly interested in their lives, truly appreciative. Papa opened the door for Nana. It was our pleasure. We're beyond happy to see you two back together. Leela's grandma climbed into the car. Enjoy your night. We will. August slipped his arm around Leela's waist, and they both waved as the taxi pulled away. She let herself lean into him only slightly. What harm could it do? This date had only served to remind her what a gentleman August had always been. How easy it was to be with him. And this had been the best night she had in a long time, too. After the taxi made it out of sight, August let his arm drop to his side, and they started down on the block. Within only steps, her poor crunched toes were protesting the decision to walk. Ow, oh geez. It had to have been nearly a year since she'd worn these heels, enough time to forget how much she hated them. It's a ways back to the hotel. August watched her closely while they crossed the street. You sure you don't want to take a cab? I'm sure. She tried to smile past the fiery pain. It was too late to change her mind now. All the taxis that had been lined up outside the theater were gone. I like to walk. Maybe not when her toes were likely bleeding, but she simply would have to soldier on. I like to walk too. August shoved his hands into his pockets. I feel like things went well tonight. Things did go well. She gritted her teeth against the pain in her feet. Think about something else. She had to think about something else. The man studied her again. You don't sound convinced. Leela didn't meet his eyes so he wouldn't see how bad she was at hurting. It's not that I don't think the date went well. It scared her how easy it was to pretend when she was with him. I mean, this being with you is easier than it probably should be. They paused at an intersection waiting for the light to turn. But back at the winery, it's getting exhausting to pretend like things are fine. Business-wise, it's hard to keep the truth from my grandparents. She shifted her weight from one foot to the other to alleviate the misery in her toes. How much farther did they have to go? August held his hand under her elbow while they crossed the street. She must be teetering in the heels more than she thought. Hopefully all of our work pays off and you won't have to worry about keeping the truth for them for too much longer, he said, guiding her in front of him so that she could step in onto the sidewalk. Dear God, did she have to? Pain seemed to rip through her toes now with each step. A whimper slipped out. Oh God, she could feel the blisters forming. August slid his arm around her waist and drew her close. Are you crying? Nope, she murmured, not crying, at least not externally. She stepped away from him and staggered on. What was it? 5 more blocks to the hotel? Now real tears pricked her eyes. Hey, August tugged her to a stop. Something's wrong. You don't even cry when we watch the horrible stepmom movie my senior year. Despite her throbbing toes, she laughed. You were bawling. I had something in my eyes, he corrected her with a grin. Anyway, I know something is wrong, so you might as well spill it. Leela shifted her weight, weighing her options. She could risk doing major damage to her feet over the next 5 blocks, or she could tell the man the truth. It's the shoes, she moaned. They're the worst, and it's been so long since I've walked in them, I think my toes are full of blisters. And that's a perfect place for us to stop and rejoin again. Page 151. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great night, a better tomorrow, and see you soon.